Alright, hello everybody. Thank you for coming back onto Barbell Radio. This is your host Canon and we're coming to you from Yokosuka, Japan. Okay, so last month I hopped on a Zoom call with New Zealand powerlifter Evie Corrigan, and I know a lot of people know who she is. She competed twice actually in IPF Junior World Classics, both in 2018 and 2019. We go through a few topics in the discussion. One is coming back into training after quarantine due to the coronavirus. And second, we talk about how she copes with anxiety competing on these world platforms. So, we recorded this 1 month ago, so some of the information that we provide might be outdated, so you might have to check that. So quick disclaimer on that. And I do have another Kiwi powerlifter on the podcast. Episode 10, I introduced Maui Makinokopu. If you haven't listened to that, please go ahead and check that out as well, because it's pretty interesting. You can hear some of this very interesting Kiwi accent there, even though people might not be able to tell the difference between my Australian accent and their Kiwi accent. But I don't know. Let me know. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the talk.
Barbell Radio.
Okay, so today I have another Kiwi powerlifter on the show. She's 2018 Junior World Champion in the 52 kilo weight class. And also in 2019, she placed second at World Classic Powerlifting Championship under the 57 class. So I feel very honored to introduce Evie Corrigan today. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yay. Okay, so quick shout out to Maui that I interviewed on episode 10 for helping me connect with Evie. I know that there are a lot of Evie fans here in Japan, so I feel very lucky to be able to speak to you. So, we might just touch on two topics today. So one is just getting back into training after the virus, and also a reflection of some of your two of your World Classic meets. Yeah? Okay. So maybe so that people can get an idea of how strong you are, can you maybe give me your best numbers?
In comp or out of comp?
Why don't you just say both?
Both. Yeah, because I haven't competed for a little while now. I was supposed to go over to do the Sheffield Invitational comp. Yeah. And then that was cancelled very sadly. And I was going to do a local comp, and then that was cancelled. Oh, no. So literally maybe like 3 days before we went into lockdown, we ended up maxing out in the gym. So I think from that session, or maybe the session like the week before, I squatted 170.
Wow. Yeah.
What did I bench? Maybe like 90? I can't remember. And I deadlifted 192, and I gave 200 a crack, but I didn't get it. So sad. Yeah. So I think the comp before that, I squatted 160.
Yeah.
160, 85, and I think 185 were my numbers from that comp.
Numbers, but with the coronavirus being cancelled and stuff, every meet that you do takes a lot of energy, right? Because you do go through cycles and it takes time to peak and everything, and for it to be cancelled like that must have been devastating for you, right?
Yeah, I was pretty obviously I was pretty disappointed when Sheffield was cancelled, but I sort of just put all of my hopes into this comp that we were going to be holding in Auckland, where I live. And I said, it's okay. My peak won't be wasted, and I'll still get to compete, and I'll get to do this comp. And I sort of put all of my hopes in it. And then that was cancelled. So I think I was almost more upset after that.
Yeah. So when was the local meet? What month was it? Was it supposed to be?
March. It was supposed to be the weekend before Sheffield, and Sheffield was going to be March 28th and 29th. So, yeah, it was the weekend before that. It was supposed to be at this expo, and then the expo got cancelled.
Oh.
Okay, we'll hold the comp anyway. We'll just hold it in the gym. And then it was, and then that was cancelled.
So did you know, how long ago did you know that it was going to be cancelled?
Everything started happening so quickly. Like Sheffield, it was a bit more notice because at the time everything was kicking off in Italy, and you know, people were really concerned about how fast it was going to spread through Europe. So and I think also a few of the competitors weren't going to be able to come, so that started once those things started happening. They eventually decided to call it off, and so that was pretty far in advance. But the comp in New Zealand, it was maybe like a week before, and then it was like a day before. Like everything just started to escalate really quickly, and everything was getting cancelled. And then we just went into full lockdown. Like the whole country was cancelled.
Damn. I don't know, because I understand that world meets will be cancelled. But I guess like it is necessary for even national events to be cancelled because we don't know what's going to happen and all that. But just like looking into the future of maybe next year or this year, is the World Classics is not going to happen, right? So like next year, do you think they'll still do it?
They haven't officially cancelled it this year. Right. It's postponed. But I think it's incredibly unlikely that it will be held for a variety of reasons, and the US is not sending a team anyway, even if it is going to be held. But I think they will hold it next year. I think it's far enough in advance. I wonder if some people might decide they don't want to go because they're worried about it still, or I'm not sure how expensive like airfares and things are going to be now. Like obviously a lot of people just have to pay their own way, and if it's insanely expensive to fly to another country to go, then probably not going to be as many competitors.
Yeah, and it's not a powerlifting competition if USA is not competing either, right?
Pretty much. I mean, you could go, if they still hold it this year, like we could go and be like, I'm world champion, but like the biggest team is not there, so yeah.
That's all true. So I just want to ask you a few things about why you started powerlifting. Like, did you were you involved in any sports before you got into powerlifting?
Not really.
Really? You feel like you were doing something. Yeah.
No. I like tried things. You know, as a kid and as a teenager, I tried hockey for like 1 year, and we were terrible. We lost every single game. And then I liked doing yoga.
Oh yeah.
So I did a bit of yoga, and then I got into acro yoga, which is like kind of like partner acrobatic stuff. So really very, very far from powerlifting. Not even really a sport.
Okay, so how did you like get into it?
My sister was working as a trainer at the time, and a coach, like a powerlifting coach, and she took me to help her at one of the competitions, a local competition, to help some of her athletes. And I like saw people lifting, saw like small girls like me lifting.
Yeah.
Like, wow, so cool. Like they're so strong and powerful. So she pretty much convinced me from there that I should give it a go.
So by the time that you did go help out with the competition, were you lifting at all? Like how old were you?
I think that was my 20th birthday. The competition was on my 20th birthday. So yeah, that was when I started. And I hadn't really done, like, she'd managed to rope me into doing like a few sessions with her, but I was like very unenthusiastic about it, like at first. And we used to do these Les Mills classes together as well. I don't know, you're familiar with the Les Mills classes, but they have this body pump one. Has like these sort of weird bar things with like, and I hated those. I thought that was my favorite class.
Yeah, nothing like powerlifting, right?
No, I mean that's the funny part, but no weightlifting at all really before that.
No, because it just makes me wonder, like, you start doing, obviously you don't like it straight away. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you liked it straight away, because I definitely didn't enjoy training the first few weeks of it. I was like, what am I doing? Like, it just hurts. Next day I can't walk and stuff like that. Like, did you like gradually started to like it, or was it more like, oh, this is so great from the very start?
I can't remember. I think it was just sort of like I'd agreed to do it, and so I was like, right, I'm doing it. Like this is it. And she'd written me a program, and we'd go and train together as well. So it made it quite easy for me to do it because she would drive me there and like be there to like motivate me the whole time and to like get me to do everything properly. So I don't remember hating it or loving it. It was just sort of like a process that I was like, I'm gonna keep going with this.
So I'm guessing like your personality obviously is probably like, if I set my mind on things, then I'm just gonna do it kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm pretty like, I feel like powerlifting kind of taught me that though, like to be quite committed to a goal and to say like, okay, I've committed to doing this, so I'm gonna follow through.
Are you like a super
really like that?
Are you like a super like competitive person?
I'm not that competitive. I feel like I put a lot of pressure on myself, but I'm not very competitive with other people.
Okay. So you do a lot of like self-talk.
Self-competition. Like I'm like, yeah, you have to do that. Here's the standard for yourself. Like you have to meet that kind of thing.
Yeah. I guess it's like a healthy way to think about it, right? Because if you get attached to other people's numbers, then it's nothing that you can control really. And it could be sometimes very unhealthy. So I think it's a really good mindset that you have.
I hope so. But yeah, I do. I still get like, I don't know what the word is, kind of like sometimes get like freaked out by like other people's numbers and like what they're lifting. But I definitely think like it's not really, if you can, like it's not really worth worrying about because like you said, there's nothing you can do about what other people are lifting. You just have to focus on what you can do.
How do you like control yourself? Like, do you look at social media a lot, like Instagram and people lifting and stuff like that? Or do you try to stay away from that?
Yeah, before comps, I try not to look at what my competitors are doing because I get quite stressed out about it. But yeah, I use Instagram a lot, but I don't follow heaps of lifters. Like I generally only follow people that I know. I don't know. Yeah, I think I try not to look at like, I've heard people talk about lifting where they'll follow like the best of the best or like the world record holders, and then they kind of compare themselves to that like, insane standard. And I just think that's like, yeah, it's quite hard to kind of see that all the time and be like, oh, I have to be as good as them. And like,
definitely
not as good as them. They're the best in the world.
And you know, you can't necessarily like copy other lifters because they're not like you know. So you just gotta have your own style and stuff like that. But yeah, I think that it's really like good self-control that you have. Like getting back into lifting, because I know that New Zealanders are going back to their normal lives after the virus, and many people are back in the gym after this month break.
I think we were in lockdown for 7 weeks, so almost 2 months.
Right, almost 2 months. How has your training been like getting back into the gym?
I'm so happy to be back, so I'm almost like not upset about how everything feels. Whereas I think, I'm just glad to be lifting again, even though everything feels so heavy. But I'm back on program, and I'm doing a lot of like volume stuff and still like a lot of accessories for like building muscle again. And then some technique work as well. So some sort of slightly heavier stuff to try and get the technique back, which feels completely foreign at the moment. Like I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I've forgotten how to lift entirely.
I'm so like scared of the soreness that like I know that if I do go back in training next day, I'm not gonna be like able to walk or anything. Is that like the same with you as you? Like, are you worried about like, oh, I'm gonna get super sore and I don't know if I'll be able to do that? Yeah,
I was pretty sore like the first few sessions, but I think once you're regularly back into it, it's okay. But definitely at first. I kind of like it though. Like, you know that it's working. You're like, yeah, I've worked really hard.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because during the season, you don't really feel that it might.
No, not at all. I think when you're training regularly, you like lose that feeling, and I don't know. Maybe it's like kind of masochistic, but you're like, pain, hard.
That's true. No, I definitely feel the same way. Do you like get discouraged, like going, like not being able to lift as heavy, because I know that it'll take a little bit to get your numbers back. And just knowing that, does that discourage you in any way, or are you pretty like optimistic, positive about it? Well, you have to be, but
yeah, I think like I said before, I think at the moment I'm just so happy to be back training regularly that like I'm almost not mad about how weak I am, but like I'm worried that maybe in like 3 or 4 weeks time I'll start to be like, why am I not as strong as I used to be? When am I going to be strong again? Like, I want to be as good as I was. I want to be building on those numbers. So I think it's frustrating, but there's just like, there's nothing we can do about it. It is what it is. And there's so many people in the same boat at the moment. So
yeah, it's not only you. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, yeah. And just stay positive and just keep training, and like, it will come back.
So. Yeah, maybe you could say to a lot of people here, because we are just we'll be getting back into the gym like start of June, and I know that people would probably be thinking the same way, like about they might be detrained or even discouraged about going back into the gym. Like, do you have any like tips or advice on those people, like how to? It could be like a mental thing, or if it's just like it could be like a training thing, like try to do like, I don't know if there's anything.
I think just take it slow. Like, you don't want to go back in and try and do it what you were doing before, because like you're not going to be able to, and that's going to be more frustrating, and you're like a higher risk of hurting yourself. So like, take it slow, be patient. Like, I think it's a really good time to just be reminded of just how much, like, the reason that most of us got into powerlifting and lifting is just because we enjoy training and like lifting things. And so I think it's a good time to just remind ourselves of like that everyday process of just being able to go into the gym and like lift things, and like that's so precious and fun. Like, we should just focus on that for the time being and not worry too much about like the long-term goal of the numbers you want to hit.
Because I think, for sure, I think it's more like a perspective thing. Like, if you were able to think from that way, then this could be like a, like, encouraging thing, possibly, So
I hope that it like reminds people of like what they love about lifting and sort of renews that, rather than you being like, oh, I'm so weak now, like there's no point,
Yeah. And also like I know that people in the the Kiwi gyms, they're all like really bonded, like well bonded, like they're super connected and all that. So it must be like really good getting back into the gym, seeing all your friends and stuff like that as well, right?
Yeah, we're a pretty tight-knit community, and like I guess we're almost kind of like a team, and so I haven't seen most of those people for 2 months or so now, so it's really nice to just see everyone again and to just chat and make jokes and hang out. Like, I think that was such a huge part of going to the gym beforehand. Like, it was so social for me, so I'm really glad that we get to do that again.
Yeah, super. I think it's super cool that New Zealand is like that. So just going into the topic of your competitions, I know that you placed second in 2019 World Classic, and going up a weight class from your last world meet, and having new competitors and traveling all the way to Europe, like how did it all go for you? Are you satisfied with it?
Well, I wasn't at the time. Like, I don't think it was a bad day, but it wasn't my best day. Like, it didn't go to plan. It didn't go the way that I wanted. I think I got 5 out of 9 attempts, which is not great. Like, I missed quite a lot of my lifts. And I don't really I don't really know what to put that down to still. Like going in that time, like in 2019, I was so much more prepared. Like I really tried to control all of the things that I could control. I felt like I had everything in line. I was like, I am ready for this. But I suppose at the same time, there was also a lot of pressure because I felt like I had to prove something. Like following on 2018, I was like, oh, you've won a world championship now. Like you have to prove yourself and you have to win again to like show it wasn't like a fluke or something.
Right. Was that like a pressure on yourself, or was it like what other people are doing? You kind of felt that and all eyes were on you and stuff like that?
I think it was more that I put it on myself. Like other people would say things in support of me. Like they'd be like, oh, we know you can win. And like, I think I would interpret that as like, oh, they expect me to win. But like really they didn't. But I sort of, a lot of it was pressure I put on myself. So I don't know if that played much of a role in it. It just wasn't really my day. For some reason, I just didn't feel very strong. And like, I think we all have days like that. It just sucks that it was competition day.
Yeah. True. And like, I don't know because I've never been on the world stage, but you know, the traveling, because New Zealand is far, far away, right? Like, do you think that caused you some sort of damage?
I don't know. Like I arrived pretty far beforehand, like maybe like 10 days or something before I was supposed to lift. And like I was adjusting my sleep schedule before I even got on the plane, and I was taking melatonin and like I really tried to make sure that none of those things were going to affect my performance, but I can't really say for sure what did and what didn't. Like I don't know what happened, but it didn't go the way I hoped. But it's always something you have to contend with, I think, especially being so far away. Like there's not often comps held close to New Zealand.
No, that's true. Like, were you like going onto the stage? Do you get nervous? Really? Because you don't seem like you get super nervous like compared to the other lifters. Like you'd be like, yeah, come on, let's go. And I think that's super awesome. Like I feel like Australians do have that sort of mentality as well, and it's so great to see it. And I'm always super pumped for you. So I was just wondering if you do get super nervous before the meet, but.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I get pretty nervous. It's a bit like I'll be like kind of pacing around out back, like chatting away nervously. Like I'll have to go to the toilet like a million times because I'm so nervous. Like definitely super nervous. But I think when I walk onto the platform, I really try to, I guess, like summon all of that courage, and it's definitely helpful to hear a crowd cheering for you. So sometimes I go out and like try and get everyone to cheer so that
I love it.
I have like them yelling at me.
It's really, really great to see. Like, but how do you control that nervousness, anxiety? Like, do you listen to music or stuff like that? Or is it like, because I know you said you do like a lot of like self encouragement and stuff like that. Does that come into play a lot before the meet as well?
Yeah, it's definitely a process that I'm still learning. I've tried different things. Like I've tried using music, and sometimes I get too hyped up and like it sort of has the opposite effect. I've tried sort of sitting quietly. It doesn't work for me.
Really?
So most of the time I try to just replicate the conditions that I would usually lift in the gym, like just talking to friends, maybe like having some music playing in the background, just trying to make it feel as normal as possible. Because otherwise I get pretty nervous. I try to remember, I think everyone kind of has that process that you go through before you unrack the bar or, walk out or whatever. And I try to make sure that feels the same as well. Like even the thoughts that go through my head, just to be like, it's just like in the gym, like do the same process, take the same steps. Yeah.
And your coach is there to help you as well, backstage and stuff.
Yeah, I think last Worlds, my coach wasn't there, but I had 3 other people helping me, 3 other New Zealanders, and like 2 of them I trained with really regularly. So yeah.
Yeah, that probably did help you a little bit as well. Having
I think you want someone that you're comfortable with.
Yep.
Yeah, and that you trust, and like
Yeah, definitely. So what did you I know that you went up from 52 to 57. What else did you do different from 2018 World Classics?
They were so different, like just like I think the competitions themselves, like the venue, just like how the competitions ran were like really quite different. And then I suppose for me personally, like I went into 2018 Worlds sort of hoping for like maybe like an individual lift medal. Like I had very low expectations. I was just there to have fun. Like it was my first Worlds. I had really, I didn't really think much of it. I was still really nervous, but like there wasn't the same pressure. I think I was like, yeah, this is good. Like I was nominated 6th. Like no one thought anything about like
right.
No one was worried. I just showed up and like did my best and like
That's amazing. And then you ended up becoming a world champion. That's crazy.
It was crazy. Yeah, it was a crazy day.
Yeah. And you must have walked off the platform being like wow, like super, super happy, right? Comparing like walking, I don't know, like after the 2019 meet and 2018 meet, it was probably like really different, right? Feeling, yeah.
Yeah, I think like I just didn't overthink it as much in 2018, and like in 2019 I just had so many thoughts and feelings about what was going on that like it was really hard to there was just a lot happening in my head. But I still like I wasn't paying attention to the numbers at all in 2018, so it wasn't until I think I was watching my competitor do her final deadlift, and it was when she missed that I realized that meant that I had won. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this just happened. Like,
wow. Like what would you like tell your future self who is going to be competing on world platform? What advice would you give yourself?
To enjoy it. Just have fun and just like do your best. And don't like worry too much about the outcome or like much pressure.
Like I know that a lot of people do say that, but it's probably not an easy thing to actually do, right? Like when you are in that position, because I don't know, because I've never been on the world stage platform or anything like that, but it probably is really hard to do it than to say it, right? Like not worry.
You know, like once you spend like a few years powerlifting and like you really have invested a lot into it, and especially I think when you're traveling to overseas comps as well, it just feels like there's the weight of so much on your shoulders, and I think it makes it harder to just have fun because it feels like so much has gone into this thing, so like you have to do well or like you have to make it worth it, and
probably feels like your whole identity is on powerlifting.
So like I think like just sometimes watching like lifters at local comps who maybe it's like their first or second or third comp, like they haven't been competing that long, they're just like competing and they just enjoy it and they just have a good time and like they're just happy with like getting out there and making their lifts. Kind of strive to get back to that a little bit because I think sometimes we kind of lose sight of that's the point of it. I think is to enjoy it and have fun rather than like I mean it is both, like obviously like we want to get better and we want to PB and like we want to win, but
probably going back to that 2018 yourself in 2018 it could probably be a little bit important as well, maybe. Yeah. I think it's great. Well, from 2020, so this year you're going up to the open division, right? How do you feel about this? It's probably really overwhelming for you, or does it feel the same?
Yeah, like it's pretty, I don't know, I'm pretty nervous, but at the same time, I'm really excited to lift alongside like the open lifters. Like, I think that's really cool. Like my idols and the people that I've been watching. So there's that. And I also think like, I don't feel any pressure really to like, prove myself in the open class. Like I get to just go in and like lift with everyone else and I don't know. I make it sound like it's so hard to have like won something. Like, and then you're like, it's so much pressure to win again. Like it's definitely. Not like that's.
Yeah. Well, I know that your numbers have gone up a lot, like in the past year or two. But just looking back at your like your lifting thing, like all up, you've just been making like progress after progress. Like what, you know. What could be like contributing factors to this? Like, do you think? Have you ever like plateaued or anything? Or
I think sometimes in like some lifts, like definitely at the moment I'm struggling to bring my bench up. I've been in the 90s for like 2 years maybe. So I've been waiting a really long time to cross the 100 threshold. But I think, yeah, like for the most part, I've had really steady progress, and I would put that down to good coaching, having a good coach, someone you can trust, and like someone you're willing to stay with for like a considerable amount of time. Because I think that like to really see it pay off, you do have to work with someone for quite a while. So I've been lucky to have some great coaches, and just to consistently work at it, you know, like I think. With anything, you know, it just takes time. So you have to be putting in the work like regularly. Probably good genetics. And not being injured. That's also like, I've had like very minor injuries, like nothing that's really set me back or put me out of the gym. I had a bit of a shoulder issue, which was partly why my bench has been so slow. And I was off benching for maybe like 6 weeks. So I'm still trying to like progress my bench.
No, it's good coaching, injuries, genetics, and all these factors. With the coaching that you mentioned, I know that there are a lot of like online coaches nowadays because, you know, a lot more competitors and, you know, people who are wanting to compete or who are competing might be looking for coaches and might not be like exactly sure what they should look for. Like, do you have any tips on like what to look for if you're looking for a coach? I know it's hard to tell if you don't do their program and stuff like that, but I don't know. I feel like it's really overwhelming because there's so many people coaching nowadays.
I think I can't really speak much to like the programming side of things, but I think that one thing that's really important is the like coach-athlete relationship. So you should really try and find someone who kind of like knows how to speak to you and knows how to get through to you, and try and see if you have like a similar philosophy about training or like you're kind of on the same page. Because I've seen a lot of, you know, really great coaches and really great athletes, but like together it just like it doesn't always mesh. You have to have the right kind of relationship. And I think so much of a good coaching relationship is just built on trust. So you have to kind of believe what they're doing in order to like actually benefit from it. So yeah, I think just find someone you trust, that you get on well with, that knows how to knows what to say to you. Like some lifters need very different things.
Right. Definitely just like talking to them and, you know, having an open communication is really important. That's a really, really good tip, I think. Okay, so just moving on to like the whole powerlifting, I just want to get across to this Japanese audience about women and powerlifting. Because I know that especially Japanese women tend to be super hesitant about doing any sort of resistance training, let alone doing powerlifting. Like, that's just out of the question. Because, you know, they're scared that it will, like, ruin their figure or body composition or whatever. Have you seen, what are your changes in physique like before you started and now?
Yeah, so I started at, I was probably around 50 kilos. And honestly, like, I would describe it as, like, scrawny. Like, I was, like, really small and skinny, and, like, I didn't feel very feminine that way, though. Like, I felt quite boyish. Like, I was just I didn't really have any shape. Right. So I think kind of like as a side effect of the lifting, like, it wasn't something I initially saw out or was even really aware of. But, like, I realized once I started lifting and putting on muscle and putting on some weight that obviously, like, my body shape started to change a bit. And I was like, I really like this. Like, I look really good. Like, I'm really happy with the changes that have happened. Like, I don't know if that also has something to do with, you know, when you're in the powerlifting scene, your ideas about bodies kind of change. Because I think you get so used to seeing how powerlifters look and how people with muscle look that, like, I think we start to think that that's, like, normal. Like, oh yeah, like, everyone is, like, super jacked.
Yeah, but then like the 20-year-old Evie probably looking at your body composition now might be like, oh, she's too bulky.
Yeah, I think, like, there's, like, two sides to it. Like, I'm really happy with, like, the weight that I've put on. Like, I have, like, legs now, and I, like, have a bum, and I like the way that my arms look. But I suppose, at the same time, sometimes when I'm lifting or, like, when I flex, I'm like, whoa, I'm really muscly. Like, I can kind of see how other people might be like, oh gosh. But for the most part, like, you know, when I put on a dress or, like, you know, wearing regular clothes, I don't think anyone looks and goes, oh, you're too bulky, or, like, you look too big or too muscular. Like, I don't think that's it takes quite a lot to look that, you know, that big. Like, I think you actually have to try and, like, flex and, like, oh yeah, now I look, so I think you can kind of have both, but for the most part, like, in everyday life, I'm happy with just like
because I know that a lot of people like look on the internet, right, and people who does train, because we still have that kind of mentality, because Japan's a little bit slow on, you know, catching up with, you know, other countries, but they look at the internet and they see people who does train and be like, I don't want to be like those women physique competitors, and like, it's probably not much to worry about, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's not going to happen overnight, and also, like, that's not going to happen unless you're really, really trying for it to happen. It's not easy to put on muscle. You know, you do have to try. So, but I think most people would agree. Well, I don't know. Again, my perspective might be skewed, but I think most people would agree. Like, we as humans look quite good with, like, muscle and, like, you know, some shape and not just, like, bone and skin.
Definitely, it's definitely a good change in the thing. But sorry, just bringing back I forgot to ask one question. Bringing back the powerlifting talk a little bit. Just for you to move up from 52 to 57, how does it feel like lifting in both of these? Like, do they feel a lot different, or?
Not really. I think, like, it was quite gradual for me. Like, I probably took at least a year really to properly get into the 57s. I think I'm probably still too tall as a 57. Like, I was quite tall as a 52.
How tall are you?
I'm 160 centimeters.
Okay.
I think the tallest in the 52s, and I'm still quite tall in the 57s, like, especially if you compare with, I guess, some of the more prominent 57s, like Maria Hiti. Like, I'm, like, a whole head taller than her. So I think there's definitely probably still room for me to grow there and put on more muscle. But it's like I said, it takes a while.
Yeah. So, are you cutting any weight as a 57 right now?
No, I'm kind of floating around 57, like just over 57. So usually I haven't cut down to the 57s yet. Usually I do like a little diet or something, like I'll not eat pizza for a week or something like that, and then like I can counter.
Okay. Have you ever like done a water cut? Oh, you probably done it as a 52, right?
Yeah, so I was cutting for every comp as a 52, and the cutting wasn't too bad, but I didn't like dieting, especially not dieting for like prolonged periods, which I mean is like, it's a pretty regular thing, like a lot of people do it, but I was like, no, I refuse to diet. So I ended up going up a weight class. But yeah, I used to do the water cuts pretty regularly.
Like how many, was it a big water cut?
No, I'd usually cut from, I mean, the advice that I've gotten is that you probably shouldn't cut from more than 3% of your body weight. So I was usually only cutting from 53 and a half, which sounds like hardly anything, but like as a very small person, like that is still 3%. Yeah, and for the most part, I think I one comp I missed the first weigh-in. That was my second water cut, I think, and I just cried it all out.
Oh, that must have been shocking. And that worked for you.
And I made weight. Yeah.
That's one way.
It was a lot. I was 600 grams over, and and I somehow managed to get rid of it and weighed in at 52.00 on the dot. So yeah,
you were probably like, I'm never gonna do that again.
I still had a really good comp, which is ridiculous. Like there's no reason I should have, but somehow like it went really well. But yeah, definitely like improved my water cutting after that point and got better advice.
That's definitely a new strategy that I haven't heard before. Like you could do saunas, you can go into a hot tub, you can not drink water, but crying is also one of No, that's really awesome. So it didn't feel like a challenge, like a mental challenge for you to move up to 57 because like there are going to be a lot more competitors.
Yeah, that's true. I think it just always made sense for me because like knowing my height and my build, and like how young I was when I decided to make the move, it was like, it made sense. I was probably going to be able to put on more muscle, like, and to be able to continue to grow. Like I didn't really want to see my numbers stagnate because I was like trying to stay small, which I think definitely is something that is quite common with females. Like we become really attached to a weight class and say like, no, I'm this weight class, like I can't get bigger, and it means that like your progress is sort of constrained, and so I didn't want that to happen. I wanted to continue to be able to get stronger, and I definitely saw, like, I think even just my first comp as a 57, and I was like barely even that much heavier, but my numbers improved quite a lot. So I think it was the right move, and maybe like 63s in the future at some point.
Wow. Is your lifestyle changing a lot or moving up a weight class?
Trying to fill out 57s, I was eating a lot. Like when I was initially trying to gain that weight, I was eating like 5 or 6 times a day, and like also just eating whatever I wanted. Like it wasn't really a diet. It was like just trying to eat like everything I could. I think at that point I was probably easily hitting like 2,200 calories or something a day. Like, now it's sort of evened out a bit.
It's probably really fun for you eating whatever you want as well, right?
Yeah, it's great. I think like I always suggest powerlifting to people who like to eat. I'm like, it's a really great way of being able to like stay fit and like eat as much as you like.
Yeah. And like food, what are like some of the bulking foods in New Zealand that your go-to or whatever you want to eat, like pre-workout, post-workout?
I don't think I like conform to like typical like powerlifter foods. Like I just love to eat. burgers and like noodles and dumplings. Like we have heaps of great Asian food in New Zealand. So all of that. I think I was eating a lot of toast at the time, like avocado on toast, like just toast with things, like just to try and like add in extra food.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Yeah, we do have a lot of good food in Japan also. So what are your future goals with lifting?
I'm looking forward to competing locally this year. I didn't compete at our nationals last year, so I'm excited to compete here at nationals again. And I think at the moment just really get back into things. Like it's hard to kind of know what the future is going to look like. It's hard to know what international comps we're going to have. So just to be able to compete again and like enjoy it and hopefully get stronger.
Yeah, because it's good that like controlling what you expect, because I know that a lot of people haven't been able to train and then they're like, oh yeah, I really want to go to the world stage, I want to put these numbers up, but you're pretty much just like, I just want to be able to get back into the gym and hopefully lift again. And I think that's really great. Yeah,
I think at the moment like everything's still very much up in the air, especially about like what competitions are going to be like. So I think we just have to focus on just doing the basic like everyday lifting, which is the bulk of it anyway, right? Like most of powerlifting is just training week to week. It's not competing.
Yeah. And it's a big part of powerlifting, just you being able to, that's what you enjoy about it, right? So it's really good to have that mentality, I think. What are your biggest struggles or something that you know that you need to work on in your lifting?
I feel like we've like touched on this a lot already.
Yeah.
It's been a running theme, like the pressure, like putting a lot of pressure on myself, learning how to enjoy lifting again, not worrying too much about the outcomes or like trying to maintain a certain standard. This has been a thing for a while for me as well. Like I'm still learning it, and I think like I get closer and then maybe like regress a little.
It's probably really, really tough for you, especially with social media and stuff. But even though you said you don't look at it as much, it must. I
don't know if it's just the kind of person I am. Like some people, they don't seem to struggle with it so much. Like it's like they're like horses with blinkers. Like they just like look straight ahead. But it's been a big part of, I guess, my journey is like learning how to deal with your own expectations about what you want to achieve.
I feel like it is a little bit common though, because I know Bryce Lewis talked about it in a podcast that like lifting becomes his identity, and you detaching yourself from that a little bit is a lot healthier and stuff like that. So maybe a lot of world competitors do have that.
Yeah, a lot of what Bryce says like really resonates with me. Like I think we're maybe kind of similar people. And I that struggle is but I'm trying to, I guess, get a bit more like powerlifting life balance and say like you're not just powerlifting, like you have other things. And not take it so seriously that you invest like everything into it, because it can be like that can be quite draining, and it can make it not fulfilling.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot about balancing powerlifting and everything outside it as well.
Like other things are important too, and like it's okay to I mean, I would always say like do your training, but some days you might be like you might not give 110%, and that's okay. Or like you might like want to go out and hang out with your friends, and like that is also important.
Yeah, definitely. It's probably really hard to like think that way though, because you've also always had it perfect, and even not doing that like your best, or like having to have to take a day off is probably like, oh no, it's the biggest setback ever. My gains are ruined, everything like that. Yeah. So.
I think we can become very like catastrophizing about stuff like that and be like, oh no, like if I don't train like you know, like every single day for like exactly this long, and I have to train on this piece of equipment, and I have to like make sure I have my carbs at like this time between this time, and I take my creatine, you know, like it can become like so extreme, and like we're so you know precious about it. Like I think like that's not fun anymore. And like not doing something, like missing a rep, or you know missing your like perfect window or something, it's not going to be the end of the world. And I think you sometimes have to let powerlifting to just take a back seat and say like, oh, you know, this week other stuff is going on that's more important.
Definitely. I really do like that mentality, and I think that people can take a lot of message from that, what you just said. How can we reach you? Like, what if you want to see your progress and stuff like that? Where can we find you?
Definitely Instagram, BV, which has three E's. That's where I post all of my lifting stuff is on that one.
Okay, BV. All right, I will drop that in the description of the podcast. Okay, thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great chat.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. Barbell Radio. Okay, and there we have it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, then please share this with your friends. It would mean the world to me. And also next week, we do have another English episode. I interview Yuki Kashima, who is a Japanese Australian powerlifter in the 66 kilo class. So look forward to that also. Okie dokie. That's it for today, I guess. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a good day. Bye bye.